I only had one pizza and then 2 curries, which is pretty good because finding a curry in Italy is not the easiest thing. Why did Lewis get a poor start in the sprint qualifying? Well, some of that was because instead of starting on the soft tyre, which we'd expected and what Lewis was prepared for, we decided to start on the medium tyre. And that was because we saw the soft had a bit higher degradation than expected. Now that medium had a bit less grip. So when he requested the torque for the start, the wheels started to break away. And unfortunately, when you get the wheel spin, the grip of the tyre actually drops even further. So you get into a bit of a vicious circle. So unfortunately, after a really solid job in qualifying, he then lost a couple of positions off the line.
Why did we opt for the hard tyre with both cars for the start of the race? Both of our cars, Valtteri right at the back of the grid, but also Lewis behind the McLarens, were out of position. We had a car that was faster really than where it was on the grid. And typically what you do with that is try and offset yourself relative to your competition. We'd highlighted that the medium tyre would probably be what everyone took. Maybe you might see one car on soft, maybe Ricciardo, for example, if you wanted to try and get ahead of Verstappen. At the start, as it happened, he ran the medium, did the same thing. But otherwise, the medium was really that robust tyre that would work very well for a one-stop strategy. If we did the same as everyone else, it would be incredibly hard to have an opportunity to win the race or effectively put ourselves in front of 2 very quick cars, 2 McLarens. We decided therefore to fit the hard tyre and create what we call an offset strategy. Our intention was to run longer than all of them and also have a tyre that was more robust in traffic, a tyre that wouldn't overheat as much and give Lewis opportunities, even towards the end of the stint as that medium tyre was suffering, to overtake. In the case of Valtteri, it's exactly the same logic. He's right at the back of the grid. He knows he's going to have to overtake all the cars coming through the field. And as a result of that, the hard tyre gave him that best possibility, gave him the possibility of running very, very long when everyone else is bringing themselves in around lap 23 to 25, a typical range for one stop starting on medium. One of the benefits of this sprint race format is that the tyre choice is free, and it creates more discussion than perhaps you may think. And it involves not just the strategy team, but also drivers and Toto and the engineers. Really, everyone has to be on board with it. As Shov already mentioned, details such as your start relies on knowing what tyre you're on. And it's very important that the drivers buy in to what we're trying to achieve on Sunday. Why did Lewis come in so early, given he had that hard tyre on? The medium tyre was degrading. You could see Verstappen and both McLarens were really starting to drop off in terms of lap times. And Lewis's hard tyre would have provided him a little bit more resilience to that. But even so, he'd been pushing very, very hard for 20-odd laps, and that tyre wouldn't be in the freshest state possible. Cars started to stop, as you would imagine. Ricciardo first to cover the win, Verstappen then came in, and Lewis, just on that lap, overtook Norris because his medium tyres also dropped off. We hadn't seen a single lap from Lewis yet in free air, so it's important to understand how quick we could really go. So we left Lewis out for that one lap. In that time, the time that Verstappen had stopped and Ricciardo had stopped, it became glaringly obvious that they were incredibly quick, that there was degradation on the hard tyre, and we would not be quick enough to keep pulling them out of our pit stop window. They, in fact, would come straight back in. So there was literally a window of opportunity that was then and there, and that was it. It was a window where Verstappen and Norris were caught behind Stroll, who had yet to stop, for Lewis to come in. Had we waited, there was no doubt that they would have easily closed back up into Lewis's pit window, and now you're committed to a very long stint on a tyre that's clearly suffering at that stage. Now, we had a prediction that we were going to come out nicely ahead of them, unfortunately suffering a small issue in the pit stop, as did Verstappen. The opportunity was created simply because Verstappen had a poor pit stop as well. And that meant instead of clearing both Norris and Verstappen, as you saw, we came alongside. Either way, you take opportunities like that. We knew the medium tyre could go to the end from that point, and that's our direct rival in the championship.
A few of you have asked if Lewis is okay, and we're pleased to say he's doing well. He has a sore neck. You'll have seen in the photographs just how far it got pushed forward during the incident, but he's got a bit of time to recover. He's got Angela with him, his physio. She'll be looking after him as she does. So we're hoping we'll see him in Russia fighting fit.
I just add that really this is a testament to all the safety that's been put in place in Formula One across the last few years. The halo truly saved his life in this instant. The helmet took the impact and took it well without damaging him. And again, the hands device acted as it should do. Those three devices all working together to ensure Lewis is, as Shov said, a little bit bruised and hurting, but okay.
How much damage was there done to Lewis's car in the incident? Well, we had a bit of time with the car before leaving the circuit to make a quick assessment. The rear wing's quite badly damaged. You'll have seen how far that got bent over during the crash. There's a bit of superficial damage around wings and floor, but most of the impact was taken by the roll hoop area and the halo itself. So that came off quite badly. The quick look at the PU is that looks okay. And the gearbox will have a bit more of a look into that when it gets back here. But as I said, most of it was limited to the halo and the roll hoop area.
When Valtteri was chasing down Perez, it looked like he was struggling to get close and slowing down a little bit, and while Valtteri was on the medium tyres. Was that the effect of dirty air, turbulent airflow, or was that a tyre effect or something else? It's always more difficult when you're approaching a car that's of similar performance to your own, especially a Red Bull that's a fierce adversary, a very, very quick car, especially in a straight line. So that's the first difference. Valtteri, when he's at the back of the grid fighting through cars where he had a good performance differential, it's quite easy to get close to them and overtake, compared to something like a Red Bull or a McLaren, for example. So that's the first effect. The second is that those hard tyres after the safety car restart were struggling. They're a little bit low on temperature and needed a little bit of time to get up into a good working range. Conversely, the medium, just a little bit better off in those conditions. What then happened is after 6 to 10 laps, that medium was a little bit into overheating territory. It's a little bit more difficult now to extract everything from it. And the hard tyre became stronger and stronger, relatively speaking. So both of those effects are really what came into play. And Valtteri had a valiant attempt on Perez and got past him, but our battery was a little bit low and got repassed again. But that fight was just a fantastic one and really a testament to Valtteri's race. It's incredibly difficult in Monza to overtake cars of similar pace. You saw that in the sprint race and again in the main GP. And yet Valtteri and Lewis both did that and fought their way towards the front.
From last to the podium, well, how did Valtteri do it? Well, we were actually given a bit of a helping hand by the fact that neither of the AlphaTauris were on the grid in front of him. We were expecting Gasly to be one place ahead and Tsunoda a little bit further up. But they're quick cars that would have probably been the biggest challenge that he would have faced in the opening part of the race. But it was key that he made ground early on. That was very useful. And then also at the front, with Ricciardo getting ahead of Max, it meant that the leaders weren't pulling away at an incredible speed. So Valtteri wasn't losing too much time there. We'd also made some decisions on the car setup. Once we knew we were doing the power unit change, we wanted to make sure it had enough power unit cooling, enough brake cooling, that it could survive lap after lap right behind another car. And then the big part was just Valtteri himself. He was racing really cleverly, thinking hard about his energy management, where he could save it, where he could attack people. He was able to get close enough that you can then get the effect of the tow plus the DRS. So really, we did our bit with the setup, but the big job was done by him, and a great effort, and we're very proud of what he did for us. So how are we after this triple header? Well, there's no doubt the triple headers are tough because you're preparing for one race, then you're doing it, then you're trying to do the work following up from the race while preparing for the next one. And in effect, we're working over 20 days in a row without a day off. So everyone's feeling that a bit. The other thing is it doesn't all finish on Sunday evening. We've got another 4 or 5 days in the office here, looking at the learnings from those 3 races. We've got a list of problems that we need to get stuck into, areas we can improve, possibilities for development. So those are all pretty busy areas. And then also we've got to look ahead to that next race in Russia. So we're reviewing the simulations there. That's also going to be a flyaway race. So we're going through which parts we're going to need on the ground there in Russia to race with. So it's pretty much non-stop, but nice to get to the back of that triple, and we're looking forward to the next 3 single header events where there's a bit more time to recover in between.
How many pizzas did you eat whilst you were in Monza? I'm a little bit embarrassed admitting this, but I had quite a few. I had one on Wednesday, one Thursday. Friday we eat at the track, and on Saturday night I had the final pizza of that race weekend. And there was reason behind it. You're in a place that is one of the best pizzas, really, you would hope, in the world. And I wanted to make sure we tried multiple pizzerias around the region. It's been many years that we've been going there. And even so, we've barely touched many of them. And for what it's worth, I found a really, really good one by the park. Best pizza, which was on Saturday night. So 3 pizzas. The other one was they were all calzone. So if we're going to compare, you've got to keep it in exactly the same form. One was deep fried, apparently, not my favorite, truthfully, but the other ones were good.
I only had one pizza and then 2 curries, which is pretty good because finding a curry in Italy is not the easiest thing, but when in Rome, it's got to be done.
I've run out of things to say. Thank you for, again, all of your questions.
And we'll be back to answer more after the Russian Grand Prix.